Hey everyone, let's just jump right into it. Today we're unpacking a really massive idea, the actual mechanics of human choice. We're looking at the groundbreaking work of Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman. His book, Thinking Fast and Slow, it's basically a masterclass in human psychology and behavioral economics. It pulls back the curtain on the hidden gears turning inside our minds every single time we make a decision. And think about it, from what you grab for breakfast to major career shifts, we make thousands of choices every single day. So whether you're a student, a professional, or running your own business, understanding what we're about to cover is absolutely going to change how you navigate your life. But before we get into the heavy science, picture this.
Okay, be honest with me. We've literally all been there. Have you ever been an hour into a film, realized it is absolutely garbage, but you stay glued to your seat anyway? The acting is terrible, the plot makes zero sense, the theater AC is freezing, and you're just miserable. But you sit there thinking, well, I already paid 500 rupees for this ticket, I can't just leave now. This, my friends, is a classic psychological trap. It's the perfect example of how our brains literally trick us into making bad choices, forcing us to suffer through 2 more hours of pain just to justify money we've already spent. We're going to figure out exactly why we do this.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, meet your 2 brains. Second, the lazy brain problem. Third, trapped by cognitive biases. Fourth, the fear of losing. And finally, master your decision-making. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. Meet your 2 brains, System 1 and System 2.
Kahneman introduces this wild concept that we essentially have 2 totally distinct characters living inside our heads, and they are constantly battling for control. First up, we have System 1. This guy is fast, automatic, and highly emotional. It operates instantly, no effort whatsoever. It's the system that just knows 2 + 2 = 4. It's that rapid-fire instinct that makes you instantly jump out of the way when a car suddenly swerves at you in traffic. Lightning fast, reacts before you even know it's happening. But then we have System 2. This system is slow. It's highly logical, and it is incredibly deliberate. It needs serious focus. System 2 is your heavy lifter. You use it when you're carefully filing your tax returns, or when you sit down in a quiet room to map out a complex multi-year business plan.
Take a look at this math problem right here. 17 times 24. I'll give you a second. Did you feel that? You definitely didn't instantly know the answer like you did with 2 + 2. Actually, scratch that. You probably felt a literal, physical shift in your head. Your pupils might have even dilated a bit. That feeling right there? That was your lazy System 2 being forced to wake up from a nap, grab a mental pencil, and start doing the hard work.
Moving on to Part 2. The lazy brain problem. Why we make mistakes.
You see, the real conflict Kahneman points out is that our logical, brilliant System 2 is, it's incredibly lazy. It absolutely hates doing hard work if it doesn't have to. And from an evolutionary standpoint, that makes perfect sense. Thinking hard burns precious calories. Our brains use a ton of our body's energy, so they're wired to be these ultra-efficient, energy-saving machines. Because System 2 is such a gas guzzler, System 1 just takes over by default for the vast majority of our day. The problem here? System 1 relies entirely on mental shortcuts. Sure, those instincts are great for dodging traffic, but they are terrible for modern logic. This laziness leads us straight into automatic flawed decisions, what psychologists call cognitive biases.
Which brings us to Part 3, Trapped by Cognitive Biases, Real-World Illusions.
Let's discover just how easily we get manipulated. The first trap is called the anchoring bias. This happens when our minds get stubbornly locked onto an initial number or detail, and we completely struggle to adjust away from it. That very first piece of information you hear becomes a heavy anchor, and it completely distorts all of your logic that follows.
Think about stepping into a bustling, noisy local market, like Sarojini Nagar. It's crowded, chaotic, and you spot this jacket you really want. You ask the price, and the shopkeeper confidently drops a huge number, let's say 2,000 rupees. Bam! Instantly, that 2,000 rupees just became your mental anchor. Even if you know the jacket is probably only worth 500, your System 1 has been totally hijacked. You're now negotiating from 2,000. So you do the whole bargaining dance, and when you finally get the shopkeeper down to 1,000 rupees, you walk away feeling like an absolute champion. But here's the reality. The shopkeeper's confident opening price secretly controlled the whole negotiation. Your brain was anchored to 2,000, making 1,000 feel like a steal when you actually still overpaid.
Now, here's another massive trap, the availability heuristic. This occurs when we believe a threat or an event is highly likely just because we can easily remember an example of it.
Basically, System 1 mistakenly judges reality based on fresh, emotional memories and completely ignores the actual boring facts.
When we see a horrific plane crash on the news, the images are dramatic, terrifying, and they stick in your head. News cycles will loop that dramatic footage for weeks. Because of this, System 1 screams at you that flying is incredibly unsafe. But the statistical, boring reality is that your daily car ride to the office is far more dangerous. Car accidents happen all the time, but they rarely make national headlines. They aren't on our TVs 24/7, so they aren't available in our emotional memory. We end up completely panicking about the wrong things entirely, just because our lazy brain relies on whatever dramatic memory is easiest to access.
Let's shift gears to part 4, the fear of losing, understanding loss aversion.
This touches on one of the most powerful financial biases we face. Kahneman called this concept loss aversion. It basically means that the psychological pain of losing something is significantly stronger than the pleasure of gaining the exact same amount. System 1 doesn't just treat potential losses as simple math. It treats them as massive, emotional threats to our survival.
Just look at the massive gap in emotional impact here. Compare the feeling of gaining 1,000 rupees to the feeling of losing 1,000 rupees. Logically, the monetary value is exactly the same, but emotionally, losing $1,000 stings, it hurts, and you'll probably think about it for days. Finding 1,000 rupees in your pocket feels amazing for about 10 minutes. The pain of the loss is drastically heavier than the joy of the gain.
And this psychological fear connects directly to how we manage our wealth. Think about the financial advice passed down through generations in Indian families. Your parents or grandparents probably told you, "Beta, just put your savings in a fixed deposit." That is the exact reason for the common preference for keeping money locked safely in FDs instead of exploring the stock market. An FD feels safe, right? There's no perceived loss. The principal is protected. But the stock market triggers that deep-seated loss aversion. Even if we know the long-term wealth creation in the market is historically way higher, System 1 is so absolutely terrified of a short-term drop in value that it forces us to stick to the safe, low-return option. We let raw emotion, not calculated logic, dictate our financial future.
Finally, part 5. Master your decision-making, taking back control.
So how do we fix this? Here's Kahneman's actionable formula for taking back control. Step 1. Slow down. Whenever you are faced with a big choice, force yourself to pause. Take a deep breath. This physical pause intentionally wakes up your logical system too. Step 2. Recognize your emotional biases. Ask yourself, wait, am I anchoring on an arbitrary price here? Am I just afraid of losing? And step 3. Seek outside perspectives. Talk to a trusted friend or colleague. Why? Because while you might be totally blinded by your emotional System 1, your friend can easily use their cool, detached System 2 to review your logic and catch the mistakes you're missing.
Which brings our narrative full circle back to the sunk cost fallacy we talked about at the very beginning. Continuing a negative behavior or sticking with a bad investment simply because you've already put time or money into it. Look, the money is gone, the time is gone. Staying in a miserable movie theater or holding on to a bad investment isn't going to magically bring it back.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Next time you're sitting in that theater, an hour into a truly terrible movie, what are you going to do? Are you going to let your emotional System 1 make you stay and suffer just to protect a past loss? Or are you going to activate your logical System 2, cut your losses, and confidently walk out to enjoy the rest of your evening? The choice is entirely up to you. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep an eye on those two brains of yours, and I'll see you next time.